Poems for Gnomes by Mark Higginbotham. Gnomes. Just standing in the garden with our heads held high, night becomes the day, and then the day goes by. 3 seasons pass away, but the winter's long, it's gone, filled with empty hollowness, wearing painted-on clothes, placed in their positions. They're not people, they're gnomes. Blank-faced, shiny expressions, artificial in the living garden, lost and out of place, lacking symmetry and rhyme, disconnected from nature, unsure of time. I dedicate these poems to the dedicated gnomes. Good day, good people. You're listening to Lifting the Veil. This is Cari-lee reporting from an undisclosed camper in Manitoba. It is Saturday the 4th, 2012, and today I am joined by author of the poetry book Poems for Gnomes, Mark Higginbotham. Mark, how are you today?
Not too bad. How are you, Cari-lee?
Not bad at all. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Now, back last year, Mark had contacted me and had said that he had appreciated my work with Lifting the Veil and that he'd like to send me a book. And so he did, and instantly that first poem that I read to you just now, Gnomes, it just hit me perfectly because, I mean, we've all been, I think, guilty of being sheep and then guilty of calling other beings sheep for the way that they live their lives. And I think this is a better description and is a little less patronizing to an extent. Very good poem, Mark. Let's talk about that a bit.
Thank you. Well, I suppose the idea of the gnome was something that was stuck in the back of my head for many years. I considered our way of life as being gnomish, and that people just represented the gnome perfectly. It was the case of we're kind of hollowed out shells with painted on clothes, faces painted and manufactured, placed in an artificial setting in the garden, and the garden being earth. So I suppose I was in annoying, instead of calling people sheep, I'd call them gnomes, and the same as myself a gnome as well, for falling into those patterns, being zoned out in front of TV, listening to the same news reports and repeating the same patterns over and over and over again.
Yeah, I couldn't agree anymore. It's a great comparison. Now, in writing this book, let's talk about how you came to that. What was the inspiration for the book? Where did it all begin?
Well, I suppose the book began just as one poem, and I used to suffer with insomnia for many years, probably since I was a child, and I just didn't know how to control it, and doctors couldn't help, and any advice that I got wasn't too healthy either. So I tried meditating, and I tried different ways of releasing my thoughts, and I found that putting them on paper seemed to work. So it started off as just simply writing what was in my head, and that just developed into poetry. And each night I'd write one poem, and before I knew it, I had a collection of poems and unsure of what to do with them.
Yeah, and then how did you go about finding a publisher to publish? It must have been really difficult. I know that you've got a YouTube channel, and you had said that that's kind of how you started marketing it. What happened there?
Yeah, well, in the beginning I tried to get a publisher to publish the book, so I sent it out the usual channels to try and get something. It was always denied, it was refused and put on waiting lists. So I couldn't find anything at the time, this was back in 2006, of how to get my book published other than expensive ways of printing it myself, until I came across a crowd called selfpublishedbooks.ie, and they basically published the book for me and were able to do any amount that I wanted. And it just happened to be at the right time.
That's fantastic. And now, where can people get a copy of the book?
Well, the book can be found in a number of places, from Amazon to eBay and so on and so forth. But you can contact me directly at the unknown gnome at dublin.ie, by email, or you can go through localbooks.ie, and the book is for sale at €10, which would be about $10, 10 US dollars.
Excellent. And it is worth it. Something in the book on the last page, 105, says, "Follow your heart. It's been there from the start, beating out your rhythm till the day you both part." Um, and with that being said, I'm going to ask you about your best source and your greatest source of inspiration, because I'm blessed to already know the answer, but I want the other listeners to hear this because it's something that, really needs to be taken quite seriously. So what's your greatest source of inspiration?
Well, I think my inspiration growing up would have been directed at people, and I would have believed that people are giving me inspiration. Celebrities or art or anything that I was watching was actually giving me inspiration. But what I noticed to myself was that inspiration comes from yourself and from everybody, because everybody has their own ideas and everybody views things in their own way. The inspiration is translated completely different in every single person. So I ultimately believe now that all inspiration comes from myself, and it comes from everybody inside. It doesn't actually come from looking towards somebody, following somebody, or believing that they're giving you inspiration like a muse. Realistically, the muse is always inside yourself. It's just how you connect it.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said, because it all does come down to what is within yourself. Now, your awakening, and I mean, I call it the awakening because, I mean, for a long time, the majority of us are just shiny painted gnomes standing on guard ever so diligently for, the government, or for our handlers, being good little citizens that they make us. When your point of waking up from that hard copy stage of being a gnome, how'd that go?
Yeah, I suppose it's just about realizing and noticing things that you've never noticed before. You might pass things by. You might just take what you hear for granted. Let's say news stories, media lines. You just believe what you're told, and when you start to question a lot of what you're told, and look it up for yourself, that's when you start to realize you probably are a gnome, and you need to break this shell down, because the shell is just being put upon you. You're molded into shape, and you're led up the path.
Yeah, definitely. And then when you realized and you started breaking at that hard exterior, um, tell the listeners a little bit about what you went through. Obviously you found your source of therapy through your creative writing, which was brilliant. And this is something that I've talked about with Ben Stewart and also Thomas Sheridan, that art is the greatest thing for us in these times, because it's through your art that the real creative changes come through. What are the other things? Like, what else went on? Your relationships with other people, your job. How did you take it all in?
Yeah, I suppose on the point of art is something that the soul craves. It, the soul needs art, and it wants to experience art. So when you start to express art in your everyday life and everyday living, you start to connect better with the world. But as that process is happening, the whole awakening point can be almost like a point of madness as well. You don't know when to switch off the questioning. You don't know when to stop the paranoia, when to believe what you're told is actually the truth, because you go down the road of seeing so many false labels and rabbit holes that the madness can drive you almost to the insane point. But what most people tend to forget is that you're not only inside your own head, you're experiencing this with everybody else. So family and friends, relationships, husbands and wives, children, they all get affected by your awakening if they're not in the same point as you. And that needs to be understood more. So from my own point of view, or from my own experience, I know that the awakening point took many years, and I still don't believe that I'm awake. I know that I have a lot to learn and I have a lot to go. So I believe that I'll only awaken when I die, I suppose. And that's the point. When you realize that this is the point, and that you can only awaken at that point, you start to understand that people aren't always on the same page as you, so you have to have your patience, and you have to understand that they're not always going to see things from your point of view, and you're not to get angry with them. I know that the awakening itself can be completely a confusion point for most people, and it's a waves of up and down, up and down. One day you believe you have the answers, the next day you believe you're starting back at the start. And this is all normal, all natural, and it's a progression. And I think if you can head up and stay strong and understand that not everybody's inside your head at that moment, and relate to them with patience, you'll get through it. And it's a day by day, step by step,
I
until it
couldn't,
almost.
yeah, I couldn't agree with you anymore. I know myself and my relationship with my husband, John, we're very blessed because we've been able to go through this together. I've seen lot of cases where relationships can't withstand the the quickness and the constant change of what happens when you start waking up to all the little lies and whatnot. So it's very important to stay grounded as you can, and to definitely understand that this journey is through your eyes, and that you can't take the journey through anyone else's, and you can't expect anybody to see it through yours.
Exactly.
You wrote this book of poetry and you published it for a reason. What were you expecting to happen? And what has the response been from others?
Well, I suppose I wrote a large collection of poems, but the particular poems that are in the book, they all had a kind of symmetry and a connection with each other. So those I wanted to get out into the world. I just wanted to, I don't know, get another point of view, let's say. I just had an urge within me to get this book published because like the right timing was there, and the availability of publishing it was there. It felt like the right thing to do. So it was just a dream, I suppose, that turned into reality. At the moment, the response is good from anybody who has read the book. They can see it from their own point of view, and they really enjoy the poems.
That's fantastic. That's something some of the listeners know that our home has always been a sort of hub for authentic media and other friends that we have. It's almost like a authentic media hostel. We just had Max Radico and Gabe from Grasshopper Media staying with us, and I encourage everybody to listen to check out grasshoppermedia.ca or find it here first.ca. Some fantastic authentic media is coming out of there. And I don't know how many nights that we all have lots of books. We have our collection of books that we're constantly passing around the fire, passing around the kitchen, and lots of discussions are coming from them. And this is one of those books where you can sit with a group of people and just flip open the book and say, okay, here, read this. And then a good conversation comes out of it. We really like the way that you put everything across. There's even a friend that's talking about wanting to do some street performance with the idea of the poems for gnomes being the basis, which you have very kindly agreed to allow. And tell your perspective on that, on other people using your creative works.
Yeah, I mean, art, poems, writing, literally music, anything. I believe that it's not meant to be copyrighted, so long as it's not created exactly the same in an identical fashion with somebody else's name on it. I believe it. All art needs to develop, it needs to mature, and it needs to be used as points of inspiration, you could say, to see from different points of view. And I have no problem with anybody using my work or anything that I've done to use as their own art. It's perfectly okay.
That's excellent, and that's the way it should be, because we're all just we're all co-creators and conduits to each other. So, I mean, if you're getting a good vibe from somebody's work and you want to do something, and 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 create from it. I think it's a beautiful way to keep that energy of that original intent going. Um, Now you're a self-employed gardener. How did that come about? I mean, I know that you had a job and you worked for a boss. And when did you finally decide, okay, this is enough? This is what I want to do. How'd you go about doing it? Because I know a lot of people out there, they struggle with the idea of, oh, I have a boss and I've got to do this and that and the other, and I can't do work for myself. So, any encouraging words you have for people that are going to start their own business, while talking a little bit about what you went through, would be appreciated.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't really think there's any job in the world where you're not going to complain about your boss. I think if you have a boss, they're going to get on your nerves at some point of the job. And I think that if you can handle that, that's fine. That's for some people. But I think most people who wake up, they believe that they see the repetitiveness in it. They see the lack of ability, the lack of use of themselves. And if they have the confidence, or if they build the confidence to be able to earn their own living or start their own company, I completely say go for it. Don't question it anymore. If you've gotten to that point where you believe you can do it, then keep going. There's nothing to stop you. It's not going to be an easy road. You're not going to be the next multinational $1 million company and make a fortune. But if you're going to just earn your own living, that's all that you want to do. Is just support yourself.
Yeah, self-sustainability is incredibly important, and keeping everything local um, also is something that, we promote quite a bit here. Keep things local. If you can't grow your own food, make sure that you're buying your food local. Um, all that good stuff. Now, on a typical day where you're not working and your wife isn't working, and you're able to spend a good day of family time with your wife and your little girl Alice, what do you do as a family? What's your favorite way to spend a day?
Um, I suppose with time constrictions, work and all that, it's very hard to get much time. But as soon as we have time, we go straight out into parks and forests. We go swimming. We go to the beach. All natural stuff that doesn't cost money. Um, a day out, memories. We like to make memories. That's it. It's all for Alice. Like she's growing up now. She's 2 years old. So the mind of a 2-year-old, it needs memories, and you need to be able to get out there and create those memories. And I don't think that's inside in a shopping centre, or in the back of a car, or on a long distance flight somewhere. It's not meant to be that way. It's not meant to be inside in a bowling alley. It's meant to be just spent out there, naturally running around, enjoying life.
Yeah, nature's something that we don't get enough of. Everything is so artificial and contained. And our kids are growing up in these artificial worlds. So I mean, your typical family day sounds a lot like our typical family day. Something that's very disconnected from, the likes of the internet, which I'm not knocking. I love it. I couldn't do what I do without it. But at the same time, spending quite a bit of time, which is why I haven't been putting out as many shows, spending as much time in nature as we have. I mean, there's nothing more fulfilling than it. Creating those memories and having that good quality time with the ones that you love is that's the reason why we're here.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and the more memories we can create, the happier our existence will be. Good memories are what drives a family forward. And to just waste them away, dwindle them away, is actually putting a nail in your coffin.
Oh, for sure. And being able to realize the blessings that are coming at you when you're going through really hard times. A lot of people don't get to see that door closing and the other door opening in that same consecutive swift moment. And it's something that we really need to start taking notice of, is that we have all these brilliant gifts that are in front of us at all times, and it's totally what we need, what we do with it, I would think.
Exactly. I mean, personally, I believe the earth is almost like our living creature. We're supposed to, I don't know, we're supposed to just enjoy it, just the earth, not the manufactured stuff that we put on top of it, not the gouging out of it, the continuous attacking of it, ripping down rainforests in order to build structures. This is all a manufactured way. This is we're destroying the creature that we're living on, let's say.
A sentient being, no different than we are.
Exactly. We need it. It's I mean, we all look out into space and we look out into the world and we think, oh well, we're disconnected from that. There must be life somewhere else. There has to be life somewhere else in space, on another planet, in another place. And while we're busy looking for that, we're forgetting that we're actually living on a living creature that's living in the spatial awareness. We're forgetting that we're connected to it. And I think it's just about perspective. When we change our perspective and see how close to the living creature we actually are, we start to change our thoughts.
Oh, definitely. I can attest to that. When I started living more closely tied to the seasons and understanding the different movements of the earth, you're not living against it. When you don't live against the natural way, when you start living against the natural ways and you do too much of that manufactured, I mean, it's almost impossible not to live in the manufactured state to some extent. But to be able to take yourself out of it as much as possible and recognize that you're taking yourself out of it as much as possible is incredibly important.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's impossible to escape it in our way of life. I mean, everything around us is manufactured. The roads we walk, the paths we see, the houses we live in, it's all manufactured. So to try and escape that just for a couple of hours in a week is most important.
Oh,
It'll bring us
definitely.
it'll bring us back to the natural world, the world that's actually speaking to us every single day, because there is a sound coming from the earth, and I'm sure anybody who is in an awakening point is feeling that right now, and they know that the earth is speaking to them. They may not know what it's saying or where it's actually going, but they know that there's some connection there. And the more with nature you get in touch with, and I actually have the fact that I'm a gardener, I have that experience 6 days a week, which is kind of, it's probably, I take it for granted. I'm always out in nature, so when the world is speaking to you and when the earth is speaking to you and you're hearing it, it's just about following that.
Oh, sure. And it's so healing. I mean, there's been studies done where you can see that working with the ground and working with the soil, working with the earth is so incredibly good for us.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best medicines out there to just get yourself out in the garden, get your hands dirty, just breathe in that fresh air.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And giving thanks to the plants for all the good stuff that they're providing for us. Yeah, it's definitely something that I am very, very, very fond of. Now, getting back to the book and whatnot, you have a YouTube channel out there. And I'm not sure that we talk too much about the YouTube channel, but what are your next stages for it? What did you start it out to be, and where do you see it going?
Well, the YouTube channel basically just started as a way of promoting the book for free, and as the videos went by, I kind of got into and enjoyed uploading the videos and uploading different creative artwork, you could call it, and so that's where it's gone now. Um, it's an easy way to publicize things, so I think YouTube is good in that manner. I know there's a lot of settings and changings that people in YouTube community seem to be giving out about these days, but I don't think it's too much to worry about. The main thing is that they're still showing videos, and that's all that matters.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I can't say that I'm not grateful that I don't have to do too much with my YouTube channel. That's all Justin's department. So thank you very much, Justin, for taking care of that because I think I'd go mad. Um, Now, and what you've done on the YouTube channel is just taken some voices or some songs and changed it to a little bit of a gnomey voice, and which is quite entertaining. I have to admit, and the pictures that go along with it tell a good story. So anybody that might be interested in checking that out, the channel's Solo Dragon, SOLODRAGON, Solo Dragon, and like I said, it's quite entertaining. The book I really do recommend though. Poems for Gnomes. It is something that, like I said, a bunch of us have sat around and read at different times. There's some really, really powerful stuff in here. A lot, and it all comes right from your soul, and you can see that there's a lot of cleansing. There was a lot of waking up that was going on, and you piecing together the pieces of this crazy puzzle that we call life.
Yeah, I suppose the poems that are in the book, they are an awakening ripple effect, you could say. From the start to the end, they all fall into place with each other, and you could pick up the book tomorrow and have a different experience with the same poem that you read just yesterday.
It's interesting. I've so many books. I can't remember what it's called, where you take a book and you put all of your intention into it, and then you flip to a page and read, and it always pertains to your life. It's almost like a tarot card, a very minor therapy session. I always look to some of my favorite poetry books. I know people that do it with the Bible. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but I've done it with Poems for Gnomes, and it's worked because there is, like I said, some really good therapeutic writings in here about the state of the world and what's going on, and just some really interesting stuff. Now, what in the book, what is your favorite poem that you've written?
Well, I kind of see the book as being one poem that's split into 100 pieces, let's say. If I was to pick one of the pieces, it would probably be The Rainbow.
Would you mind reading that for the listeners?
Yeah, sure.
That would be excellent. Thank you.
The Rainbow. We are sailing in the wave of life today, on the crest of all our yesterdays. Our tomorrows made from dreams of today, with only present at the crest of the wave. We are sailing in the hopeful voyage, to test the pace of our many ways, a land of peaceful tomorrows carved from yesterdays. Passed from a hand of no worries, to a vision brought out of the haze, and the sound of our whispers travel, past our dreams and beyond our days. To see the rainbow in every day, from every angle, in every way, to close your eyes and make it stay, is to see the rainbow within the grey. These days make plans for some meaning, to convince ourselves into believing, a bitter world to the bitter soul still bleeding, for a sweet aftertaste to try please the feeling. We are walking far and wide within the sun and the sky, and even though people have lied, and all the reasons why, we'll know that we've tried, and all the reasons why. Faint heart still believing, beating to the sound of the breathing, to the sound of the wave just leaving, and to the shore, to the crest brief meeting. We are sailing in the wave of life today, to see the rainbow in every day, to see the rainbow within the grey, from every angle, in every way.
Thank you so much for that. As I've said, I am in full agreement with the idea, or with the reality, that our artistic expression is giving birth to the new ways that we are all going to be living. The blossoming changes that are coming, it's almost like a new renaissance or something. But, and I could be wrong with the words that I'm using, but I'm just kind of going off the hip right now. I think that more of us should be taking that time. And when we see that there's something bothering us, there's so many ways to be creative, whether it's singing in the shower, finger painting, And like finger painting can get really interesting because you can get like fruits and vegetables and finger paint with fruits and vegetables. So like, why not? You can write poetry, you can write letters, you can make clay art. There's just and color. Oh my goodness, how many times I've taken the kids' coloring books and sat there and colored. John especially. My husband just picked up a blank piece of paper in January and realized that he can draw. Creatively, I think as beings, we're exploding and rebirthing ourselves. Mark, I want to thank you so much for the work that you've done and the work that you're continuing to do. And I'm hoping, and I'm hoping you're going to tell me that there's another book in the works.
Yeah, I hope there'll be another book in the works. I've plenty of poems still sitting underneath the bed waiting to go. I've just been busy with my own work at the moment, so publishing books wasn't on the list.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that. And I'm sure that your poems under the bed are being protected by gnomes.
I hope so.
Now, for those of you that have been listening, again, the book is Poems for Gnomes by Mark Higginbotham. That's Higginbotham. You can reach him directly at unknowngnome@dublin.ie. Is that right?
That's right.
Or at localbooks.ie. If you're interested in self-publishing, selfpublishedbooks.ie, and I'm sure there's other ways for anybody out there that's listening that thinks that their creative spark could be in any type of writing. Look into it. Contact Mark. I'm sure that he'd be happy to talk to you and answer any questions that you might have. And buy a copy of his book because it's absolutely fantastic. I enjoy it, the kids enjoy it, the friends enjoy it, family enjoys it, and that says an awful lot. If you can give something to 10 people and they all think it's good, all 10 of them, then you've got something good on your hands, I would say. And all 10 people that I've showed it to, Mark, have absolutely adored it. Now, if you had any last words for the listeners that you'd like to share with them, please do.
Just get out there and develop your art, develop yourself, question things, always question the preachers, always question the people who are out there telling you exactly what it is they want to tell you. Don't take it at face value. Get into yourself, really understand yourself, where you're coming from, why it is, what you're doing. And with those questions, you'll nearly find your own answers. You don't need somebody to tell you the answers. And when you start to find your own answers, you no longer rely on somebody else's advice, let's say. Not that you won't take the advice, but you don't rely on it. You don't keep looking for it almost to feed you with how you should live your life. And by doing that, taking it day by day, step by step, you'll eventually find your own path and your own destiny. And I think that's all that we really have to do in this life.
I couldn't agree anymore. I'd like to thank you once again for coming onto the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I look forward to speaking to you again. And the minute you have some free time, that you have something else published or a new YouTube video, please pass it on to me so that I can pass it on to everyone else. Because you have some treasures that definitely need to be shared.
Thanks very much, cari-lee. And it's been great to talk to you. And I'd love to do this again.
Oh, definitely. It would be a pleasure to have you on again. To all the listeners, you've been listening to Lifting the Veil. This is Cari-lee. Until next time, peace.